Evan Cheung joins us to discuss all things Chelsea, including their big win over struggling Tottenham. City continue their winning ways, clear at the top of the table, and United absolutely crushed Southampton 9-0, sending them further down the table. We down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio, and this is the Boys In Bolos podcast. Welcome back to the Boys In Bolos podcast. We're here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio. Jarrett, another week in the books.
Another week, another dub for the Blues.
Another dub. Another big L for Spurs.
A big L.
For Jose's Ponies. Jose's Ponies.
Is that Portuguese for ponies?
Jose's Ponies.
Ponies. Back at the Barbershop Studio, Evan Cheung, how are you doing?
You're doing good, good. Obviously delighted that Chelsea just won. Great to be back. I'm excited for this.
Oh my God, he's never been so happy in his life.
You see his face right now?
Oh my God, it's like all of the holidays and his birthday and New Year's at once.
He's forgetting all of he's forgetting the Wolves game. He's forgetting the Arsenal game.
God.
Yep. It was a tough, rough run of games during that time, but we're back. We're back.
He's righted the ship, as they say.
Yes, sir.
We're back. We're back.
We're back, baby. Sixth place,
baby. Right to the top. To the moon.
Straight to the Europa League.
We're going to dive right in for the Chelsea-Tottenham game. Evan, one of the greatest things I think as a Chelsea fan is that we haven't let up a goal since Tuchel's come in, which feels great because on Frank's last couple games, I felt like we were a sieve. Is that a good takeaway? Has there been any better takeaway, the fact that we haven't let in goals over the first three games that you've seen? Offensively, are you seeing things that you like more? Defensively, is there something else that we could even improve on, even though we haven't let in goals?
I definitely agree. Defensively, obviously with the new formation, going to a back three, that's definitely helped out. Very much like how Antonio Conte switched to a back three formation in 2017. Tuchel has done the same thing essentially with the back three, and I think that's just helped us out massively.
But the problem is, and I don't think it's defense. I don't think it ever was defense for Chelsea, right? I mean, you guys can't score goals. I mean, even today, yeah, you got a pretty Dyer basically handed you guys a goal because he's a bonehead. Besides that, I mean, Mount had a few opportunities, and I obviously think Mount's the best player on Chelsea right now. It's pretty clear. Werner can't do anything, and Ziyech is hurt. And Havertz seems to be hurt, and they didn't even consider Giroud to put him in there. And Hudson-Odoi doesn't look very great. So,
you don't think Hudson-Odoi looks good?
I think he looks okay, but he's not I didn't think he was a goal-scoring threat.
That's true.
I mean, as a player, he's a good player, but as a goal-scoring threat, The bottom line is the way I feel about Chelsea hasn't changed after they beat Spurs 1-0. One, because I thought Spurs were going to either tie or lose that game. Two, you guys just haven't been scoring a lot of goals. And I'm actually I wouldn't say I'm a Chelsea fan, but if there was a team, they're in the Champions League, I'm rooting for Chelsea, right? As a Premier League team. I'm concerned, as they have these fixtures coming up, FA Cup, Champions League, that they cannot find ways to score. They have possession, they're dribbling around the box, they give the ball to Pulisic, they give the ball to Mount, and they dink it around, then nothing happens. Or they get a shot block. It just seems like they're missing something.
Yeah, Evan, I feel the same. Do you think moving into February that Chelsea are going to be competitive against Atletico? Because Atletico looks freakish. Luis Suarez is scoring goals for fun. They also don't let in goals, and we can't score goals. What are you thinking moving forward? Do they do the 3-5-2 with wingbacks, or are they to go with something else?
I think Tuchel's going to stick with the same 3-5-2. And particularly towards Atletico, it's going to be tough now that Thiago Silva's injured. We don't know how, I guess the length of that injury or the, seriousness of the extent. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a really tough match against Atletico. I don't even want to think about it, honestly. But
it's literally 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks away. It's 2 weeks away. So it's the 18th of February.
Oh, that's wow.
It's rough.
So brutal.
That's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. And even if it's a groin pull or if it's a thigh injury or whatever, 2 weeks is usually the barometer of what they say on minor injuries. They're 2 weeks. So there's I hope he's not too injured, because he's a good player, and it's good to see him on the field when Chelsea are defending. But I worry about that game. I worry about them in the Champions League just because Atletico is so good. Suarez is just. I mean, that team's on form. They're not going to let in a goal. Is the first match away or home, dude?
The first match is away. So
Okay.
because we won our group, so we have the second match at home, unless I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but that's normally how it's traditionally done.
Okay. Chelsea still have some like figuring out to do. I think for me, it feels like that Tuchel's still like tinkering around in the starting lineup, especially because Chilwell's still on the bench. They had literally, I was like doing the math. They had 200 million pounds on the bench when they started that game, between Chilwell, Pulisic, Ziyech, Conte,
Giroud, maybes.
Yeah, it's just a lot of money on the bench, and like I don't know how long. I mean, I know that Tuchel, he trusts Aspie and he trusts Alonso, but there has to be a point where you spend all this money on these players and they have to find some time on the field. And I
think he's doing that. I think today leaving Werner out there for the entire game was kind of. I mean, if
what did that get you though? Like it didn't get you anything.
I know, and I'm kind of like, do you think, Evan, that maybe he should have brought in Giroud, or do you just leave Werner out there because whatever, and I'm going to play Giroud on the weekend? What's your thought?
I think it was fine to leave Werner out there. I think even without, he's not scoring goals. Yeah, I think every Chelsea fan knows that. And a lot of people are starting to get impatient with him. But at the same time, if you take a look at the game, we had to use a substitution for an injury. And then our next substitution was to bring on Pulisic, right? And I think just leaving Werner on was a good decision because he's always a threat on the counter. And you never know what could happen, even though nothing really happened much after the words. And Tuchel just uses that last sub for N'Golo Kante, which was brilliant to bring on a defensive sub just to close off the game.
Now, my question is like in the long term, I think that N'Golo Kante, I know he's coming off an injury, right? I mean, I'm assuming a slight injury he's coming off of.
Yes.
And I think he looked a little step behind. Like he was a step behind today. I think normally he's a little quicker, a little better on the tackle. So I think he's actually the long-term center defensive midfielder as opposed to Kovacic. Even though I think Kovacic is playing great, I would prefer not to see Jorginho out there, even though he scored a goal today and he's been playing fine. My preference is to see like more of an attacking lineup with Ziyech and Pulisic and Werner. Like I would rather see all of them out there and just like go all in, right, and try to score goals. At this point, they need to score more goals. They need to get some confidence from their attacking players as opposed to winning these 1-0 grinded out games, which is fine. I mean, it's good to have these games in your belt, but when it comes down to it, I think they need to really get some confidence and score goals.
Do you think, Evan, that this game would have gone differently if Frank Lampard were still manager? Do you think Chelsea would have beat Spurs?
Ooh, that's a great question.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah, that is.
He looks nervous. You can't see him, but he's like sweating. He's like, oh man, hot seat.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It probably went the same way.
You think it goes the same way, Jeff? I think it doesn't. Because I think Frank was very committed to the 4-4-2, and that just left us way too exposed in the counter. And when you have the wing backs, it just gives you a little bit more balance through the midfield when maybe you don't have the overall technical ability and tactical ability to deal with a team that's as quick with Heung-min Son in the middle, or a guy like Højbjerg who can turn and knock a ball long. You know, I see 3-5-2 as a kid who played college. A lot of teams play 3-5-2 because it's easier to have three mediocre center backs that kind of stay together and you just tell them to stay together than have two really good center backs who have to know how to pull and move the line up and give and go and create space, but also minimize space on the defensive side. So I actually think it would have been a tie under Frank, and I think with Tuchel in the 3-5-2, I think he allowed it to be not a tie. However, as we've said, the goal left a lot to be desired because it was really just Eric Dyer who had a bad day.
Yeah, because that penalty, if he had not done anything...
if it's not for the penalty, it's a 0-0 tie.
Because there was two defenders standing there, and like, yeah, maybe Werner would have done something with it, but Toby was standing there like, all right, well, Dyer's on the ground, like I have to cover for him.
And I guess that's my point. I was thinking to myself, if Frank were there, would he have made a difference? And I think, if Frank were there, would he have won? And obviously, we'll never know. It's just it's conjecture. It's a hypothetical question to ask, out to the universe. But I think Tuchel playing the 3-5-2, he allows the forwards and the top guys to be able to be a little bit more free moving forward, and they don't have to track back as much because they know that they already have so much cover built in. Whereas Frank was a little bit more like, yeah, let's Golden State Warrior this. Let's try to outscore them. Even if we lose 6-5, even if we win 6-5, we still won 6-5. But because Chelsea isn't scoring goals, as you've said, and we know as Chelsea fans, Evan, I don't know. But who knows? Who knows? Moving forward, I think in the Champions League, it's going to be tough for Tuchel personally for his ego and his overall professionalism if he doesn't get by Atletico Madrid. And I guess, do you think how much do you think his pedigree in the Champions League came into play with Abramovich? Because Abramovich, as we know, is obsessed with the Champions League. That's what he wants. He wants the domination of the European Cup, of the European region. As a Russian, there's a lot of geopolitics in there, but Russians like to think of themselves as European by culture, even though geographically they're more Asian. So anyways, there's a lot of things playing there. How much do you think he was like, we want to get Tuchel because he took PSG to the championship last year?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you take a look at the other managers, there was, I think, Julian Nagelsmann and potentially Maxi Allegri, or I think his name is just Allegri. That was sort of like within talks, but yeah, I think Thomas Tuchel was the right decision. He took PSG to the Champions League final just this last summer, and I think if Abramovich wants to get Chelsea back to that level, then you have to hire a manager who is shown capable of getting you there, right? Obviously, he hasn't won the Champions League yet with either PSG or Dortmund, but I think with Chelsea, you give him some time, anything could happen, right?
Especially if you give him some money. I guess at PSG, you're getting a lot of financial backing with Neymar and Mbappe, and you're spending a lot of money. But at Dortmund, way less money. But I think if Tuchel said, hey, I want Upamecano, I want Alaba, I want a few of these players that are going to be free, you have to pay to get in this transfer season, I think Abramovich is going to be like, yeah, we'll get you these 1 or 2 or 3 players, and maybe be the missing pieces they need to be either title contenders or at least Champions League contenders within Champions League as well.
One of the interesting things that I want to ask you, because you're the Chelsea guy, where do you think Chelsea's offseason moves are? Because Neymar has been said to, I'm going to talk about PSG so I can talk about Chelsea for a second, but Neymar has been said to definitely be signing on a new contract at PSG. And the second I see that, I posted this on Instagram, I said, okay, that means Messi's coming in. Because the only way to keep Ney there is to bring in Messi. So I think there's a situation where Mbappe goes to Real Madrid, Sergio Ramos either goes to Man United or PSG. But I do think they're going to try to bring in Messi. So with that said, they're one of the bigger teams that's not going to be going after Haaland. Other than Haaland or Upamecano, are there any other players that you would like to see Tuchel bring in the summer?
You need somebody to replace Silva, right?
Yeah, that's what Upamecano would be essentially, right? I think those 2 targets would be pretty good, but considering the fact that there's a lot of other European teams going after them, and we've already spent so much money, you don't know how much, money Abramovich wants to continue to splash. We all know that he has enough money to do that, but I think Abramovich would rather have Tuchel work with what he has now and continue to build on what Frank Lampard built and what Frank Lampard couldn't get out of this side that they've already spent over £200 million on. And in terms of transfer targets, I haven't really heard much, but I guess we'll have to wait until the summer. Obviously, yeah, like you said, Haaland and Upamecano.
I mean, obviously, if Chelsea bring those guys in, I think we're in the title contender talk before the first ball is even kicked. Is there a player on loan that you want to keep on loan? And is there a player on loan you want to bring back because they're playing well? I'm not giving you easy questions tonight, Evan. You're in the hot seat.
Yeah, so I think obviously the first person that comes to my mind is Fikayo Tomori. We just let him go out on loan, and I think that was a mistake considering now that Tuchel has just arrived literally like a week after Tomori left, and all of a sudden we're playing a back 3, right? It'd be perfect to have Tomori as sort of a backup option and actually have a chance to get more playing time, right? Outside of Tomori, I can't really think of any more loanees. I think Musonda is back at the club, but he's still rehabilitating or just, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but I can't really think of any other loanees.
My question was, and I know this was tossed around, is that before the transfer deadline ended, Billy Gilmore go out on loan, right? Instead of keeping him at the club because he's not getting a lot of minutes. And would it serve him better to go play for another Premier League club or in the Championship? And like, what's your thoughts on him moving forward? Because he's obviously a very talented player, and not getting the time probably that he deserves. And it's almost like a little bit of a waste if you're not developing that player more. Thinking as a Chelsea fan,
I personally like that he stayed, because if you take a look at the new system, right? We have essentially a two in midfield, and that's either going to be Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante, and now Billy Gilmore, right? And I think having 4 midfielders there is better than having 3, just in case if one gets suspended or just injured. And with like the amount of cup competitions we have, and even the Champions League, Tuchel said 22 men is just enough, right? That's why I don't think he wanted any more departures. But also, I guess going back to your loanee question, I remembered we have Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Ross Barkley out on loan. I can't really see them breaking back into the Chelsea side because we have Mason Mount, we have Kai Havertz, we have other guys who are playing their position already.
Are Ross Barkley and Ruben Loftus-Cheek loan to buy, or are they just straight loans? It'd be interesting to look at those contracts. I thought the Ross Barkley one was a loan to buy for Aston Villa, right? Yeah.
For Aston Villa. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly, if those are loan to buy, but I think if the money were right, if either Fulham stays up, right?
Right.
Obviously, if they don't stay up, I think Ruben's going to probably get loaned out to another Premier League team. If they both stay up, though, I would assume Chelsea would be fine selling them, probably looking to recoup some money, not only for the sales that they had this past summer, which was £200+ million, but also the fact that Kepa was brought in at like £85 million, and I think his current value is like $13.5 million. So they need to definitely plug some holes. And I, like Evan just said, I totally agree. I don't really think they have a spot at Chelsea. I was never impressed by Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He was kind of like Kennedy. I was never impressed by him either. And Barkley as well. I was never impressed. But apparently Evan disagrees with me. So Evan, you want to speak on it?
I sort of agree slightly with the Barkley take, but I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek was really good in that 18-19 season under Maurizio Sarri. I think he was probably one of our better attacking players alongside Eden Hazard and Callum Hudson-Odoi and Giroud. But ever since that injury, again, it was that injury that wrecked him. I think it was like a friendly game overseas in America, and he just got injured. It was, I think, his ACL, and he hasn't been the same since.
It was against the New England Revolution, and it was May of a couple years ago, and it was against racism kind of.
Yeah, I think it was anti-Semitism. It was actually set up by Abramovich, I remember. But yeah.
Right, so it was over here. It was in Massachusetts. It was in Foxborough, and he just twisted his knee, and that was it. And that's why I don't think clubs should have friendlies. I hate that shit because it's just one more opportunity for your asset, which has ACLs, MCLs, knees, head injuries. It's just one more thing of exposure for the liability of a player, which is essentially an asset. So yeah,
it's all about the money.
All about the money. These poor guys, all about their money. You know, their best ability is their availability. So, but anyways, I don't see also a player out on loan other than Tomori, and I completely agree with you. I think, especially with the 3-5-2, I think he's super useful. And I was actually surprised to see Frank not use him more at the beginning of this season. I was so surprised that he kind of got pushed to the back, because after last season, I was like, this is great. I don't even know where this guy came from, but he's phenomenal. He hustles. He seemed to work in with the team, but that's pro soccer. You know, if you're kind of, consistency is one of the most impressive attributes of any pro soccer player, that they can get up and continue to just put in time and add value wherever they're supposed to add value. If they're defending, they're defending. If they need to score goals, they're scoring goals. So, but with that said, we're going to look at some of the other games of this past week and then eventually get into the previews. But scoring goals, we had a 9-0 drubbing of Southampton, and this is the second one under Hasenhuttl. He also lost to Leicester 9-0. So that dude, he said this was worse, and I don't remember why he said that in the press conference I was watching. But
it's worse because he just came off winning a game against Liverpool.
That's right. He was
They
crying.
won. Yeah, he was like crying on the field.
Which I get. If I coached a team that beat that Liverpool team, I'd be crying. I'd be a basket of tears.
Fall from grace, man.
I'd be Celine Dion. Titanic song.
We thought the Southampton team at one point was at the top of the table, with a lot of other teams that have been at the top of the table have fallen. But this Southampton team, I was worried about. I was like, oh, is this the team? Another team that's going to be contend for the top 4? Blah blah blah. Like, are they actually good? Like, Danny Ings, second coming of Danny Ings, or the first coming? I don't even know. But
it's like the 5th coming. That guy's
James Ward-Prowse just like scoring worldies all day. Walcott's like suddenly found himself again after like playing like wherever he was. But bottom line is they're now like in 12th place or whatever they are, and everything's kind of leveling out. Everything's kind of finding its balance, except for Everton and
Aston Villa. West Ham.
Nah, Everton and West Ham. Aston Villa is about where I thought.
But they've got a couple goals and they've got a couple games in hand.
Yeah, well, I mean they're not easy games in hand.
We'll see what happens, but I do think the cream is starting to rise to the top. And what I mean the cream is that when you list the teams from the top to the 20 in the Premier League by the end of the season, it is almost normally verbatim the amount of money each club has and spends, because that's the way soccer is, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And right now, Everton and West Ham are throwing that off because I think they're overachieving. I mean, Souček is looking like Ronaldinho out there.
What the hell is happening?
Unbelievable. Like, get him tested. Is he like
his
Lance
eyes,
Armstrong on his legs?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything more. But he looks like I don't even want to say it.
Then don't say it. Okay, we're moving on.
I'm moving on.
So the other one we want to just briefly give a shout out to is the Aston Villa calamity. David Luiz has been on Arsenal for, I think, like a year and a half or maybe even less. But the dude has more red cards or the same amount of red cards as like 15 clubs in the Premier League.
He has 9 red cards.
Arsenal has 9 red cards.
Arsenal
has 9 red cards. He has 3 of them.
He has 3.
But anyways, that was a wild one. And then
the wild thing about that game. Okay, let's go back to Arsenal. So,
you want to talk about Arsenal?
I want to talk about Arsenal a little bit because
is this going to make you feel better?
It makes me feel better because honestly, another London. You feel better too because they're another London team.
That's true, but West Ham's still winning London.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Okay,
but
as long as Arsenal is still like in 10th in the league, everybody can feel better about themselves.
Dude, you are a Spurs fan.
Because here's the thing:
Spurs could be in the 2nd division, and Arsenal would lose a game to like a relegation team in the Prem, and Spurs fans would get shit faced.
Dude, so Arsenal, they're looking good. They're coming out. They're like winning games. They're playing well. Pepe is actually scoring goals,
which is incredible.
Lacazette scoring.
Oh my God.
They don't need Aubameyang. They realize Willian's a waste of money. Anyway, they're playing well. They're actually looking impressive, like a team you don't want to really play. And then they go out and they get 2 red cards in one game.
Here, let me build a metaphor. It was Halloween night for Arsenal. They pooped in a bag, put it out on their own porch, lit it on fire, and then had to step out the poop bag.
Arteta had to step it out.
They got hot poop on their shoes, and then they walked back in and got it all over their carpet. That was that game.
Wolves are not that good of a team.
Jeff, you didn't even laugh at that. That's mildly funny. Thank you. And we're done talking about Arsenal because that's like Tottenham therapy, and I know you need that right now.
I need it a little bit.
But you got your White Claw. So we're moving on. Okay. And we're going to just jump right into the preview of this week.
Are we going to throw it over to Evan for these previews? I want to get some real good takes on these.
Some real good takes.
Some hot takes.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about actually from week 22 is that you're starting to see either a one-horse race with City, and also the question is, Liverpool, are they not title contenders? So we're going to go a little out of...
Hey. Forget title contenders. Are they even top 4 right now?
Okay, well, we're gonna let the maestro answer.
All right.
So we're going to skip ahead because this game is on Sunday. But we're going to start with that game. So week 23, Evan, who do you have in the City-Liverpool derby? And speak on a little bit the ramifications.
You're calling it a City-Liverpool derby.
It's not a derby.
It's like the top of the league derby? Is that what you're calling it?
The City-Liverpool game.
Okay.
Match.
A match.
The match.
The big one.
The kahuna. Who do you think wins this? And what team can't afford to lose?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge game on this upcoming week with City and Liverpool. I can see Manchester City winning this one. They're on a crazy winning streak. I think it was 13 games. I think Gabriel Jesus is starting to find like his, form, his consistent form at least at City. And with like no Aguero, that's like perfect for him, right? He can still keep scoring and stay in the side on a regular basis. I think Liverpool have to win this game for their sake, though, in order to keep that top 4 hopes and just even maybe at a crack at the league. But right now, like, I really see Manchester City winning the league. I don't think anyone's going to stop them. United are close, but I don't think they're convincing enough. And I think City will just cruise to the title.
What's the score?
Yeah, what's the score?
I think a 2-1. I think it could be close, but I think Manchester City will win.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that they've transformed their defense to being a team that could outscore teams, 4-3, 4-2. So now just not giving up goals. And you got to attribute that to Ruben Dias. I mean, obviously he was a great signing, but the other factor that you have to consider is that John Stones is actually he got a shot, he took an opportunity, and he's run with it. And that you don't see that a lot in the Premier League. Is like a player that was put in the bench, wasn't playing well, basically sat out an entire season, and now he's like one of the best defenders in the league.
Mac and I were talking last night about Liverpool. He's a Liverpool fan, and we were just actually talking about City. And what we were saying is Ruben Dias, as of right now, I think is probably the best signing of this season, and the most improved player and most breakout surprise is John Stones. And you put them in the back there, and they just don't let goals in. They just don't let goals in, which is a shock because you used to be able to score a goal or two on City, but they may score 4 or 5 as you open up the space to score on them, and that's how they won titles. That was it.
Gary Southgate's like, wow, I have a real player for Euros this year.
Oh my gosh. It's all right. So
Dyer just got kicked to the curb.
Dyer self kicks to the curb.
I know. Dyer kicked himself to the curb.
So 2-1. City over Liverpool
I like
at Anfield.
that. I'm liking that score.
Are you a believer?
Yeah.
I think it's fair.
That's fair.
Let's go back to Saturday morning, the kickoff. That's at 4:30 for you on the Pacific Coast. Aston Villa, Arsenal. This is going to be a good one.
It is. Yeah, I really liked seeing Jack Grealish play. I think he's the best player outside of the top 6. As for a score prediction, I think Villa can win 2-0.
Yeah, they're Leno-less.
I mean,
and
David Luiz list.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. That's not that bad.
And I think their goalkeeper, Martinez, will have a point to prove, considering that he was from Arsenal, right? And he said going to Villa was a step up, right?
Ooh. I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
But he's been playing really well. Martinez,
he's in the running for signing of the season because of his numbers as well, for sure. So so you got 2-0, Jeff. What do you think about that? 2-0?
Yeah, I think Lacazette and Aubameyang have been wildly inconsistent all season. I think Lacazette will score a worldie here, a good goal there, but hasn't found the form that I think a lot of Arsenal fans would expect. I really like what's that Arsenal player, that young guy?
Saka.
No.
Saka.
Yeah, Saka's good.
The
other guy. The other guy.
Martinelli?
Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe.
I think Smith Rowe has been a revelation.
He's good.
He's really good. I think if Odegaard can get in the side and find some minutes, I think that would be worth Arteta's while and proving that he can play. It's going to be tough for Arsenal to take points in the next 2 weeks because Leno is class and Luiz has been playing pretty well this season. So that being said, Arsenal will lose. I don't think they'll score.
I think 2-0 is fair. Then.
I think 2-0 is fair. Yeah, go with that. Villa.
So
Watkins goal.
Just to call it out, the Liverpool City is our agreed upon game of the week. And I'm going to call the next game between Burnley and Brighton. This is our mini bat match of the week because this is analogous to people fighting in basements with mini bats. That's the beauty of this game. So who do you have in the Burnley-Brighton Hove game?
I don't think Brighton actually. Hold on a second.
I know
you're asking Evan, but first of all,
this is not your time.
Go ahead.
Tottenham therapy is real.
All right, whatever.
Go ahead. Go.
Evan, go.
No, go.
Evan, go.
No, go.
No, go
all
ahead.
Right,
go ahead.
All right, here's the thing. Brighton just beat Liverpool. Okay.
I knew it was gonna come back.
And Spurs.
I knew it.
So I think Brighton's better than. I think Brighton's got this game in the bag.
Okay.
1-0.
Evan.
I mean, they both beat Liverpool, right? So I actually think it's going to be a draw.
Oh, okay.
I think, I don't know. I like both sides. You have Sean Dyche and you have, I forgot the Brighton manager. Harry Potter? No. Graham Potter.
It's Harry Potter.
It's definitely
Harry Potter. No, it's Harry Potter from
Potter.
now on.
Graham Potter.
Harry Potter, who the owner of Brighton Hove is J.K. Rowling.
No.
We're keeping that one in.
That-
I don't know.
Cut out.
No. There's no way back from that, is there?
No.
There's only forward.
But so you think a draw, like a 0-0 draw type of deal?
I was thinking a 1-1, but I can see a 0-0 too, because both sides can play really defensively. You know, they have really good center back pairings, I think, that work well together, and they work well as a team, right? I think they defend really well defensively as a unit, and it could be a dull 0-0 draw.
Okay.
A 0-0 draw is rough for Burnley because they're on the cusp of the relegation, obviously. But I think a 0-0 draw, Graham Potter would take, and he'd be like, that's great, because playing Burnley is not fun. No one wants to really, no one's excited about playing Burnley.
Especially because Brighton, over the last 2 games, have taken all 6 points.
They've taken scalps.
Yes. And now if they get a draw, that's 7 points in the last 3 games. I bet Graham Potter's doing cartwheels in his office, dude.
He's doing cartwheels in his office.
He's like, this is amazing. I can't believe it.
Oh, my God. Newcastle, Southampton. Who do you got?
Southampton coming off a big L.
Yeah, Southampton's in the negator for goals over the week. It's at St. James Park, if that changes anything.
No.
I think Callum Wilson has been firing a few goals lately, right?
Yes, very much so.
But I'm sure Ralph Hasenhüttl will want to really lift up that Southampton squad after losing by 9 goals. So I think I could see another draw here, maybe a 1-1.
Here's what I think.
I think that's fair.
I'm gonna say Minamino will get the start
over
Che Adams, because Che Adams didn't do anything last game, obviously. And I think Southampton has a statement game. They win 3-1.
That's a statement game?
I mean, for Southampton after losing 9-0, yeah, it's a statement game.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's like losing World War I and then losing World War II.
They're not gonna
Hashtag
lose.
Germany.
I mean, they could lose. I mean, obviously, Bednarek got his suspension revoked.
You know, Bednarek got his suspension revoked, and David Luiz is in line. He's like, please take my suspension away. And they're like,
no, David
that
Luiz.
stays, David Luiz. You're a nightmare.
Yeah. Bednarek, they appealed the suspension, and they were like, yeah, you're right. It wasn't a real red.
Well, next game,
Boom.
Fulham, West Ham. This is a derby, not just a match. It's a match and a derby.
a match and a derby.
A match
Jared.
and a derby.
Wait, was it Fulham and who?
West Ham.
This isn't easy.
I don't know. This one's tricky.
No, it's not
so
easy.
sure.
Tricky, my guy. How is it tricky? Tricky, you're trying to
'Cause
figure
I
out
feel
how many
like-
goals the Hammers are going to put away?
Yeah. How many?
I don't know. I feel like
Souček
West Ham have been pretty good this season, but then at times, I don't know. I don't know. You never know what Fulham can do with Lookman, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and they have, I think, Cavallero,
Evan
who's
Soft,
a pretty good forward for
Evan
them.
Soft and Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, I think he must have gone to Stamford Bridge and he saw Ruben at a local shop and they
Yeah.
had a moment.
He got him to sign his.
I don't know, but
Yeah, he had-
I really also like Thomas Souček. I think he's a really great
He
player.
is.
It's crazy. He has 7 goals, but it always seems like he has a lot more than that. And they have Declan Rice, they have Ben Rahman, they have a load of them, Antonio. I think West Ham will win this one.
Ooh.
I think maybe a 2-0.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
2-0 sounds right.
I agree with that.
2-0 sounds right.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I was just I think we were both apprehensive as to why you thought it was tricky, because I think West Ham's middle of the field with Souček and Rice is up there with the best midfields right now in the Premier League, for sure.
Yeah, if Rice doesn't go to another team in the offseason, I will be very surprised, because he's going to command a very hefty fee, and West Ham's going to be like, yes, give me that good transfer money, good, yeah.
Give me those rupees.
Give me those rubles.
The next game is the runner-up for the game of the week, but it's also a game where, because United are playing, it's a, quote, big game, you could basically have 90 minutes of ASMR, like they had against Arsenal and they had against Liverpool. So, do you think this game is going to be something people should watch, or is this a game where you should burn your Peacock?
Shout out to Peacock.
Shout out Peacock for ruining all of our lives.
Shout out Peacock for the
It was
immense
not
loading
sponsoring
time.
this podcast, nor will ever.
Wait, who's playing?
Which game
Who's
are you
playing?
Oh, I'm
referring
sorry.
to?
Playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Manchester United and Everton. I realized I had this huge thing and I didn't tell you guys. Manchester United, Everton.
Okay. Bruno Fernandes?
I don't know.
Anyone?
I'm not so sure because they just won. Yeah, they just scored 9 goals, and I think a lot of people would be expecting them to, take out Everton and get a win. I'm not sure what to think. I don't know.
Well,
what do you guys?
Oh, here's the thing.
do you
This
guys
is
think?
this is how exactly. So you bring up the point that I always feel about Manchester United. I can't predict them because one week they lose to Sheffield,
That's true.
and then the next week
That's true.
they smash a team 9-0. A team that I thought that was actually pretty good. I thought Southampton was a decent team, a decent side, a side that wouldn't lose 9-0. But they also lost to Sheffield. So what team is going to show up on Sunday? Does anybody know? We don't know. But I would like to see Everton knock down another few pegs because they're overachieving right now, and I don't think they're as good as they really are. Even though I do like James, and I do like Calvert-Lewin, and Richarlison is okay, although he falls down very easily. But we call them Shampton FC on this pod.
ever since we called them Shampton FC and they won the Premier League of September 2020, and they basically, you know what, Evan, this is all has its roots in the first game of the Premier League season when they beat Spurs. Ever since, if Jeff sees like an Everton fan at like Walmart, like rams his card into them.
Here's the thing. They won that game. We're going to talk about that game again?
No, we're not going to talk about the game. I'm just saying that's
Brutal.
where your, blood boils a little bit for Ancelotti's boys.
Ancelotti, I mean, they're definitely still overachieving, in my
They're
opinion.
overachieving. I would like to see a tie. Would be best for Chelsea and Spurs.
It would be.
That is max points loss of 4, and it doesn't really move either way, and it really keeps the Jekyll and Hyde mentality going for United, where they don't know who the hell they are. So I'm going to interject here. I would love to see a 1-1 tie.
Okay. Yeah, I could totally actually see that happening.
Yeah. I think Evan's a believer too. Let's manifest that. We're just putting that out in the universe. 1-1 tie. 1-1 tie.
1-1. Yeah, sounds good. I think you bring up a great point about, from a Chelsea standpoint at least, right? Both teams draw. They only get 1 point. This would be great.
It would be super great because Everton's behind us and United's in front of us. So as long as they stay static and we can move up, it's phenomenal. The team behind us isn't getting close to us, and the team in front of us isn't getting farther away. So that's what I'd like to see, and it helps Spurs too.
Unless you think that Everton aren't really like top 6 team anyway, and then you want to see max points taken away from Man United.
I think Everton actually are going to be annoying for the most of the season.
Yeah.
They've beaten some
I'm just
real
trying to
teams,
throw that out
and
there.
they're not fun to play at Goodison, so I would love to see a 1-1 tie. But let's go to the next game. Spurs versus West Bromwich Albion, WBA.
Do you want me to take this one?
I would like you to take this one,
And
Jeffrey.
then Evan can either agree with me,
And then he will disagree
He will
that you
disagree.
think the Spurs are going to lose.
I don't think they'll lose. I
Okay.
don't think they'll lose. I think it's a 1-0 victory. I think it's going to be like one of those games where they win and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, Spurs are back. Oh, 36 points, game in hand." But no, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be like one of those grinded out, park the bus victories where I hate myself for 90 minutes and I'm throwing my jersey. I'm like tearing my jersey off because I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? Either way, I don't think West Brom's very good. And
It leads you to existential questions.
it really
Climate change.
everything is in
the
question
pandemic.
watching them park the bus against West Ham. But so 1-0, like, I don't know, whatever.
I think Evan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I can already see. I agree a lot with what Jeff said about it's going to be a 1-0, not much going forward, but you do get a win and you grind it out. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, Spurs are like not that far off the top 4. But I don't know. I think Jose Mourinho has a lot to figure out with filling that Harry Kane gap. But yeah, I agree.
The big question is that they don't have a player in the middle of the field to like link their defense and their offense, and it's not Lamela, it's not Ndombele obviously because they're making him play like a center defensive mid role. They can't pack it in from minute 1, and they obviously were like actually pushing the ball forward a little bit second half when they made 2 subs, and it changed the game a little bit. Like Chelsea actually had. I don't think Chelsea was ever really in any danger of losing that game, but they actually had to defend, which is like, that's all I'm really asking right now at this point is like, put some pressure on the other team. Like, don't just absorb. Like, don't just sit back and let the other team hold the ball for 80% of the game. That's all. I mean, we know Jose Mourinho's lineup's going to be like his tactics are going to be defensive, right? But at least show some like positivity on like moving the ball forward. Either way, I don't think it's going to change much at West Brom. Those players aren't feeling very confident, but they are a lot better than the other team. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could lose, but I say that about every team. They could lose to. They lost to fucking like some shitty Europa League team earlier in the season, so it's possible.
I want to paint you a picture, Jeffrey, one that you will enjoy being painted. When Jose Mourinho leaves a team,
yep,
sometimes,
very soon.
When he leaves a team, they eventually find their way to great success.
Oh,
They win the league, they win European titles. He left Chelsea, then we went in 08 with Avram Grant. John Terry doesn't slip, we win the Champions League. 09, we should have gone in the Champions League again, but Andres Iniesta scores a worldie. We finally win in 2012. Jose Mourinho goes to Real Madrid. He's there for another 3 years. During that time, he tanks them. They come out, and then they win 4 European championships in 5 years. I think maybe at the end of this, the team will have an understanding of how to defend, and then they just need to go find another coach who's a little bit more offensive, and maybe things, I don't know, maybe things get better. That's what I was thinking about Spurs the other day, because we were talking about, is he going to be sacked? If he is, what are the benefits of that? And maybe that could be a benefit. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm trying to be positive.
If anything, you realize that the players on the field and what like Jose brings isn't enough, and so you have to go out bring in other players. At the very least, that maybe Levy realizes that, or maybe the board realizes the picks that Levy's are making and not making or not bringing across the line are costing the team top 4, are costing the team Champions League.
I want to move on from Spurs, obviously, because we've talked about Chelsea and Spurs a lot, this podcast specifically. But I will say, they have to make a decision this summer about Harry Kane.
Yep.
If it's me, I sell him, because I think I can get 2 younger players to make him up in the aggregate and don't have ankles of a 68-year-old. He's just a liability. He's hurt every season.
Love
for a
Harry
lot of time.
Kane, love him. But I think if you're able to sell him to a Real Madrid or sell him to a PSG, sell him to a Barcelona for like $100 million, and you can bring in like 2 really good players, including a center back, then you're going to be better served.
I totally agree. Let's go to the next game. This is also for me as a runner-up for the game of the week. This is Leicester and Wolves. What do you think on this one, Evan?
Yeah, I think this is also another great match. I can see Leicester winning this one because Wolves haven't been that great recently, and it's Leicester City. I think they're gonna make top 4 this, or they could potentially make top 4 this year. But
Scoreline?
I think they can just score. I think a 3-1. I think Leicester will score goals.
Biggest factor in this game, James Maddison, on fire, scored a goal this past weekend. He's involved in every. He's basically like
He's the Bruno
Fernandes
for
of that
Leicester.
team of Leicester. I mean, Harvey Barnes is really good. They're finding ways to win without Vardy scoring, and that was always my thing with Leicester. Is if Vardy doesn't have 20 goals, are they contenders? If Vardy doesn't have is involved in every scoring opportunity, are they going to make top 4? We can put that to bed. They are just like Vardy hasn't scored, and Madison and Iheanacho and Barnes and Tielemans, and they got Soyuncu back, and they've Castagne is actually good, and the few players they've added to that team, as well as the existing players, have gotten better. That team is a surprise to me a little bit, being that they dropped a lot of points in the end of the restart season. So they finished 5th. Obviously, they're in the Europa League. To a team, obviously, that's overperforming a tiny bit, but also just like staying steady. They lose a game, and then they come out and they respond to that game by winning. And I think Leicester's a problem for the traditional top 4, and I think that they could easily find themselves in 3rd or 4th by the end of the season.
The one thing I want to say about Leicester is I talked about consistency being part of a great player's portfolio. Leicester has been, for me, the most consistent team this year. They've always been in the top 4, I think, the entire season, since like the game 1 or 2 where you're just at goal differential, or it's just by alphabetic or whatever it starts out at. they've actually been in the top 4, I'm fairly certain, almost the entire season. Whereas so many other teams, Chelsea, Spurs, Everton, Southampton, have touched the top and dropped down. Liverpool and United touched the top and now are kind of floating somewhere in top 4. Leicester have been literally between 2 and 4, I'm pretty sure, the whole season. So I do see them being in top 4 at the end of the season, which causes serious problems for our clubs, Chelsea and Spurs, because the two Manchester teams will be there. Leicester looks like they're going to be there. And then it's between Liverpool, Chelsea, and Spurs, I think, for the other 4th position. So that's kind of brutal to think about because Liverpool's Liverpool. But let's actually talk about Chelsea. Chelsea is playing the basement, Sheffield United. This should be a dub, right? You look at this on paper, and it should be a dub. Evan, is there anything we should be worried about playing Blade's baby?
Yeah, the thing with, I don't know, like Chelsea is, you expect a dub from a team from Sheffield, but I don't know. Sometimes we're so inconsistent, but maybe it might be different because we're under Tuchel now, right? Weirdly, oddly enough, McGoldrick sometimes finds a goal against us. I think he's their top scorer, but I can see a Chelsea win. I think a 2-0 or maybe even 3-0 win, I think would be enough. Or
I truly hope that Pulisic gets a start. I think it's a game where potentially Havertz, if he's healthy, gets a start, or Ziyech starts, which I'd like to see, honestly. I'd like to see Ziyech find some connections with Pulisic out there and in Mount. Maybe the 3 of them can play together. I don't see Sheffield winning this game. I just don't see Sheffield winning this game. It's going to be a 2-0 win. It's got to be. Tuchel cannot let this team, after not giving up any goals in his first 3 games, suddenly say, "Oh yeah, it's Sheffield though. We're just gonna F it. It's fine." Like, he's not gonna let up on them. He's gonna train. He's gonna be like, "This is another Premier League team. We need to win these 3 points. Take this seriously. Let's win this game." And that's it.
As long as Chelsea win, I don't really care for the scoreline. And one thing I will say, if they're going to score multiple goals, I would like to see Werner score a goal. If he's playing, he needs to friggin' score a goal, for the love of God.
Yes.
Just take the pressure off himself. Because then the next game for Chelsea, I believe, is Newcastle. Another game where there are going to be holes and there are going to be gaps and there's going to be definite opportunity for Chelsea to get in behind and hopefully show their quality. So I would like to see Werner score if they're going to score by more than 1 or 2 goals. That would be nice. And finally, the last game of the week, Leeds versus Crystal Palace. What are you thinking, Evan?
They're both on 29 points right now, so I can see a draw, but I think Leeds have enough quality in their side to get a win. They have Patrick Bamford, they have Harrison, they have Rafinha. I think Leeds will win. I don't know. I'm not sure about the score. What do you guys think?
It's tough to predict a Leeds game, especially Crystal Palace has also been another team that's kind of Jekyll and Hyde this season. They'll win a game that maybe they shouldn't win, and then they get blown out from another team. I don't really, Jeff, what are your thoughts?
So, Leeds, Crystal Palace.
You don't actually have to share an opinion. We can just go on.
Oh, God. No, all right. Well, now I definitely think Leeds are going to win. Because they got Zaha? Get out of here with that.
No Zaha, no goals.
Yeah, but he isn't playing that well.
Yeah, but Ezzy's super nice.
Ezzy's nice.
I think it's going to be a tie. Bielsa loves a tie. I'm going to go tie 2-2. It could be actually a pretty good game. It's going to be open. Neither of these teams are necessarily good at defending.
No, they're bad at defending.
I'm going to go 2-2 tie. All right, now we're going to look at fantasy real quick. In the basement, as always, Graham's gang, murder on Zidane's floor. Shikaka, they're still in the bottom. The top, no, not so special Oz, not so special one. Oz Atik is literally taking a mini bat to everyone else in the fantasy. He's destroying. Feel free to look at who he has and copy his players. Jesus Larry in second. Los Bandoleros. Rodney in third. And in 10th, Jaboy with Boys and Bolos. And in 9th, Jeff with the Bunkers.
I dropped down a
Jeff
spot.
was in first for a while. Now he's back with me in the middle of the table.
Fun fact. The reason why I think I dropped down was because I picked up your boy Bednarak.
Yeah,
and
I'll tell you why. You are so Jeff this past week only got 30 points, while Jaboy got 77. And this is the reason why, Jeff, because Jeff has Son as his captain. So Son scored 2 points, which doubled to 4. And he had Bednarak on the team, which is a -7. And Zaha only had 1 point.
What are you going to do?
So now I'm about to leapfrog Jeff, and then I don't know what he'll have. What's the point, you know?
What's the point? What's the point of
Without
living?
fantasy, what's the point?
What's the point of living?
What's the point of living? That's it. So there you have it. Evan, thanks again for joining us on the Boys and Bolos. We will continue to follow you on the gram at Evan Cheung Football. You always have great lineups, great conversation points, not only for Chelsea, but about the teams they play. So thanks again.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you all so much for having me again as a guest. I look forward to the next time we do this. Yeah, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
They didn't play football, they just defend. And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal. When the opponent has the ball, you have to park the bus all the time. Because if you don't concede goals, you have more chances to win. But I can give already a tip to the coach Arnold. My 3 attacking players will be Remy, Diego Costa and Hazard. So even if you park the bus, with these 3 guys, be careful.
Can we have a double-decker bus?
Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned, or email us directly at boysandbolos@gmail.com.